So we have Miss Jocelyne Agbo. She is lovely to have you, Miss Jocelyne. She's a business and entrepreneurship. She studied business and entrepreneurship at University of Wisconsin Stout, and she's also a fellow at the Mandela Washington Fellowship. She's a D Prize Award winner and a Global Social Benefit Institute alumni. She founded a company called FarmWheels. They are a social enterprise that works with smallholder rural farmers in hard-to-reach communities. Ms. Jocelyne is also a fellow at EG, the Echoing Green Fellowship. So I'll just let her tell you so much more about herself, give you a little bit about her experience. Ms. Jocelyne, it's such a pleasure to have you. We're so grateful for your time. So we want to hear a little bit about you. We want to hear some of your prospects in running a business, especially in the area of agriculture. We want to hear some of your disappointments. We just want you to be open and honest with us.
Thank you so much for having me, and I want to say thank you for everyone present here. So like she said, my name is Jocelyne. I'm a social entrepreneur with a passion for low-income families, because I'm one of them. And also, my organization is basically a startup, but it is not the first organization that I founded. I founded also a manufacturing company in 2015, which is operational to date. We produce powdered detergent, a brand named Jojo, so it's still in the market. And now we have FarmWheels, which was founded in 2018. So if you notice, 2018 is just for a company organization that started 2018 and has to face a year like 2020 and still come out of it, still in business. That is a lot to take in, and that is a lot to go through. But I want to talk to us about how to navigate various business challenges as an entrepreneur and as a startup. When I meet up with other entrepreneurs and they tell me, I have this business challenge, I have this challenge, it is so difficult for me. And they expect me to say, oh, so sorry, why is this happening this way? I go, good for you. Because it's good for you to face your challenges upfront. Because your challenges today becomes your to-do list. It doesn't take up your time anymore because you don't have the experience on how to deal with those challenges. And again, we also need to learn to look at our challenges objectively. When you need to think about it objectively, your challenge is not you. It is a challenge. It is not you. So when you're able to look at those challenges objectively, you'll be able to understand how to tackle or how to go about it. Now, I'm speaking to the startups here or budding entrepreneurs, people that want to become entrepreneurs, or you've started and you're facing some difficulties. Don't put too much emotions into looking at those challenges or the problems you're facing. Because when you do that, you find out that your thoughts are everywhere. You become disoriented. So you look at it objectively. And you also need to understand that your business is a living entity. When I say a living entity, people come and say, this is my business plan. This is what I want to do. This is what I don't want to do. And I'm like, fine, it's your business plan. Have the bigger picture. What matters is how you get to the bigger picture. You allow flexibility into your business. I've seen someone who started off a makeup artistry school, and there's so many makeup artistry schools everywhere, and she doesn't want to pivot, right? She wants to be that because in her mind, in her head, her business plan is to be one of the best makeup artists in the country. That's fine, but makeup artist is in the beauty industry. There's so many things that are part of that beauty industry. So there are so many ways you can pivot and still be the best when it comes to skincare in the country. Now that leads me to two things. I've noticed that some entrepreneurs and startups, when things become difficult, they tend to diversify instead of pivoting. Diversification and pivoting are two different things. When you pivot, it means that you are doing A, but because of X, Y, Z, you're doing B, right? Now, diversification is because A has given me profit or so much income, and I want to reinvest in my business and start something else entirely. Diversification usually needs for you to infuse funding. But when you pivot, you manage your budget. You work with the budget you have, with the resources you have already. And that is some of the things I noticed in 2020, some entrepreneurs. For example, I know an entrepreneur, a young entrepreneur that started a restaurant. And when it became a bit difficult, she started doing home deliveries. Now, doing home deliveries and also running the restaurant, when you know that you cannot pay the staffs you have, you know that you cannot afford to pay for the rent of that place, and you're now also into delivery, which requires you to hire people to deliver, it requires you to do a lot of marketing. Now, that is diversification. And at that moment, she doesn't have the fund to diversify. So I encouraged her, why not pivot? It helps you, it saves you a lot of overhead, right? Pivot and do the delivery and leave one. Now, when she now focused on the home service and home delivery, guess what? She had to cut down on the number of staffs she had. She didn't even need the space anymore. And anyways, COVID was already in session. So what she did was she left the place she was, the office space or the restaurant space she was using, and she cut down on the number of staffs and quadrupled her income because the overhead has reduced. And the thing is, she was still doing what she loved to do. And now that she's thinking of opening up her space again, the people she provided those home services to when she pivoted are the people that are in the front line of patronizing her when she opens up. So we need to understand the difference between diversification and pivoting when we face challenges. So now, while I talk about, there are lots of challenges for entrepreneurs and startups. As a startup, you are the CEO, you're the admin, you're the accountant. You're basically running every aspect of the business because you don't have enough funds to pay or hire staff. And even when you outsource, sometimes you still have to step in. But I have this strategy that I use personally to look at every challenges that I face as an entrepreneur. And first one is, obviously before you start up for the year, you have your goals. You need to have a goal. You need to have your milestone. You could break it down or you could do a bigger picture. For this year, I want to have 1,000 subscribers. I have to have 1,000 clients that are buying my products. And you can break it down 300 in first quarter, you break it down in quarters. Then when you have this goal, that is when you would notice if you're having challenges. That is when your challenges become very clear. Because I've noticed where when you ask an entrepreneur, I'm facing challenges. So what challenges are you facing? My business is not doing well. What aspect of the business is not doing well? They have an idea in the overall that the business is not doing well, but they cannot pinpoint and say, this is where we're not doing well. And when you have those goals, you will be able to identify the areas you're having challenges, and that would help you make informed decisions. And that being said, there's a real need to understand being able to identify your problems and understanding it. So my strategy is, the first one is I try to understand what that problem is. And understanding a problem means asking, what are the challenges? What is this problem? How did it start? When did it start? Why is this happening? When you're able to understand these challenges, you would feel less overwhelmed. Because when you face a challenge, you have this overwhelming feeling as if everything is going, not according to plan, nothing is working the way you want it. But when you understand those challenges, you have this it has this calming effect. Okay, now I know what is wrong. Now I understand where I need to do this or that. And in understanding your challenges, you also need to work with your customers, you work with your team. It's good you make your challenges or the process of solving each challenge or problem human-centered. So you bring in your team, you understand where it's coming. It could be lack of funding. It could be that your sales are very down. It could be that revenue generated is also very low, or even you're generating revenue but you're spending so much on overhead. So by the time you understand what your challenges are, then you now move to the next step, which is you understand your capabilities. So let me use, for example, during 2020, we registered 400 farmers that we want to provide inputs for. And we usually get a line of credit from input companies, which would allow us to increase our distribution line. And then the input companies did not come true. So when I sat down with my team and I said, so what is this? How did this happen? We know COVID is done. Do we understand how this is affecting agricultural input? And when we did, we now looked at our capabilities. Look at the resources you have. Look at your resources includes your team, your staffs. Your resources includes your network, the people you have on your phone. You'll be surprised that the people you have their contact in your phone number could be what will save your business for tomorrow. When you look at your network, you look at your staffs, you look at even your clients and your customers, you look at those capabilities and you now try to figure out how to solve this problem. Do I have the capabilities? For example, when we looked at our capabilities, we understood that we could provide inputs for just 200 and not 400. And now the question now becomes, how do we make up for the remaining 200 that has registered? How do we provide inputs for the remaining 200 farmers that we have? And that is where you now start working on how to do the 200. If I was looking at it without understanding what the challenge was, in my mind it would be like, 400 farmers, how do we do this? Oh, they've registered. But we now understand, after we put our heads together, we understood what our capabilities are. We can do 200, so the outstanding is 200. Then when you're able to do that, you can now leverage on your networks. That is when you're now looking for solution. You can leverage on your networks. I usually tell entrepreneurs that the first thing you need to start a business is not money. Being that Nigeria is, where we are, Nigeria is what it is, and just like Mr. Tony said, it's one of the most difficult environments. It is not business friendly for entrepreneurs, especially in terms of infrastructure. Then this is where you now look at leveraging on your network, leveraging on goodwills that you've built before, leveraging on friends and families, and also you leverage on your clients. Some clients understand that this person, if we infuse maybe, for example, I've seen a product that is not in the market yet but has a prototype. But because the prototype is so good and the founder advertised and say this prototype, if manufactured, goes for $12, but if you order beforehand, you order for $10 and we make and supply for you. And that way the person brings the funding they need. You could also leverage on that, your clients, leverage on your network. So we leveraged on our network and goodwill for 2020. I reached out to some of my contacts and I said, we are trying to raise funds to do this, do XYZ. And if we are able to do this, you get back your money. Now that is leveraging on your network relationship and the goodwill. These are people that we've done or we worked with, and we noticed, and then noticed that yes, if they invest, they always get their return on investment. So don't underestimate goodwill with your clients, customers, and your team and staffs, most importantly. So when we look at this, how to leverage on all these things, if it's sourcing for funding, who do we ask? Who do you know in your network that knows someone in the investment firm you're going to? So these are things you also put into consideration. Now, one of the most important parts is implementation. Seeing your solution through, being able to see your solution through, that is important, because by the time you finish your thinking, your brainstorming, and you come up with ideas and you don't implement those ideas, then it becomes invalid. The whole process, is void. So it's good that when you come up with a plan on how to solve that solution, when you go through those processes of understanding and identifying, and then understanding where you are at the moment, what you can do, your capabilities, and then you profile a solution, leveraging on what is available to you, the resources that are available to you. Then you now move to the last stage, which is implementing the solution that you have profiled. That part is very important because sometimes implementation is daunting. When you look at it, it looks very difficult. Break it down. You can break it down in bits. This week, I'm going to meet this person and talk to this person. Next week, I'm going to meet this supplier. The other part week, I'm going to talk to this investor. And when you break it down like that, it doesn't seem very overwhelming anymore. So, I think this is where I'm going to stop because of time. I think I've taken enough time. So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Jocelyne, thank you so much. That was really amazing. And there was just so much to take on. And, one of the key things you said actually that stood out to me is that you said, when you're looking at your business, don't take it personal. You don't work from from a personal place. I'm using words, today's Friday, but you work from an objective mindset, and I think that's so important. And giving that story of that young lady that you mentioned, look how she tripled her income, look how she saved money. And I know sometimes we can think, oh, my stuff, my this, I want to make a difference, and I'm talking about private businesses now. I want to make sure people are employed, and yes, you will get there in your business. But I don't think it's important to start looking at overhead when you are struggling. Nothing is ever personal in business. I always say that. I say business is strictly financial. There's nothing personal about it. I usually try to refrain from doing business with friends, actually, because for me, I think, they take it so personal sometimes. And I'm like, look, we're friends, but look, this is nothing to do with friendship. This is business. So it's important that even if you are getting your headcount in, you are hiring people that you know. You did mention the difference between diversification and pivoting, and it's true, like you mentioned, it's important to know the difference. And I love that you mentioned, doing an analysis, identifying and understanding the problem within your business. Now, on that, I did take a note and saying, doing like a SWOT analysis. For those of you who don't know what a SWOT analysis is, it's basically your strength, weakness, the opportunities, and the threats of your business. So it's important, like, Ms. Jocelyne has mentioned, to just keep going back and reviewing your business. And if you can see, it goes very much in line with what I said at the beginning, and also with what Tony said as well. Having that business plan, it's more than just giving it to your investor to invest. And, like Ms. Jocelyne mentioned, she did say that, starting a business, the first thing isn't always money. And I know that's the first thing for us. We say, okay, we need funding, we need this, we need seed fund. Why do you need the seed fund? We don't even know funding. And when you go back down to the nitty-gritty, you usually see that the funding goes back to overhead again and institutionalization. office spaces and things like that. You don't always need funding. Make use, like Ms. Jocelyne said, make use of your network, make use of your friends if you really want to use them then. Hi, can you utilize my business if you're into services, if you're into catering, if you're into anything like that? Try me out. I design, I'm a programmer, I'm a this, try me out. 10 times out of 10, you have friends and family and, colleagues and associates who are going to need a graphic designer, who are going to need a hairdresser, they're going to need, somebody in agriculture who can get a farmer to be delivering eggs and milk to them every day. We have what we need. So I'm just trying to pinpoint some of the amazing things that Ms. Jocelyne said to prepare us for this. Do we have any questions?
When I started FarmWheels, we started off with talking to the farmers. We went to communities, went to villages to understand what their challenges are, how do we come in, how do we help them. And that is me starting my business. Then I wasn't looking for funding yet, but at that moment I was gathering information to know where and when I would need funding. And this helped a lot, because when you now ask someone for funding, or when you're writing an application, you now know the areas to focus on. So we noticed that we needed funding after we've already made partnerships, worked, partnership with input companies, made partnerships with the farmers, the cooperatives. Then we now know, okay, fine, we need funding. Now, the interesting part is this: when we worked to input companies and we told them we're looking for, we want to provide inputs for 200 farmers to start with, and they told us they cannot do that completely, but that they're going to give us 40% credit line. So what 40% credit line means is they give you an input worth 100,000 naira, and you pay them 60,000 naira, and you balance them 40,000 naira later. Now that is capital, because when you're not telling someone, I need money to do this, I already have 40,000 naira, I need 60,000 naira to complete this. It gives you an edge over someone that is saying, I've not done anything, or I don't even have 10 kobo, I need 100,000 to even start. So when we now got to that stage, because we have partnerships, we have people we're talking to, and guess what? These things are your receipts, right? When you go to an organization, you meet a founder, you talk to them, you shake hands, you take pictures, right? These are your receipts. So when you're not talking to an investor, you're talking to a funder, you tell them, okay, so this is how far we've gone, this is what we've done, right? And then this is funding. Now, before we even start meeting with these input companies and funders and all that, we did what we call a proof of concept. And we did our proof of concept with 20 farmers. Right? Now, I looked at my capabilities, what I have available, and I know that I can run my proof of concept. I can run that with 20 farmers. And I did that. And it gave me the proof of concept. It made me understand. And also, whoever I'm talking to, that this model, this business model, or this product is viable. And when you have that, that is when you can now go to funders and say, okay, I have a viable business model, or I have a viable product, and tested it. It's very viable. We also have so amount in goodwill, in credit extension, and all that, and then we just need this to make us implement this and achieve our goal. Right? So, for example, your goal is to empower 10,000 farmers. So you go to an investor, you say, for the next 3 years, our goal is for 10,000 farmers, but we've done this with 100 farmers. It's very viable, and we've also had partnerships with XYZ, and they're willing to bring in 40, 50, 60% of this. We need the remaining 30%. So that is when you go to funders. So it is crazy. If you go, it is crazy how many no's you get, but that shouldn't deter you. But again, to also help to get less no's, or you also have to put things in order. Understand? But now I can go to funders. You can't just go to funders empty-handed. Obviously, they're going to say no. So you need to get to a certain stage before you now say, okay, funders, please, I need. So I hope that has answered your questions.
So thank you so much. Please do stay with us. We do have more people who have more questions for you. But because speakers are pressed for time, we want to get through the last speaker. So thank you so much, Ms. Jocelyne.